Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We're here today on our Mindset and Motivation Monday, where I can't wait to share with you all of the details of our brand new 12-week year. Our ability to make this year our best year yet. Super excited about this show. I love being able to get started with every single week with a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of motivation. We all know sometimes what we should be doing, but we're not always moving forward towards our goals. So really the only thing oftentimes in life holding us back are us, right? We hold ourselves back because we find our goals to be too big, too overwhelming, or there's just too much else to do in life. So I totally get that. I live in that same sphere as you. And what I want to make sure is that we're still able to overcome those particular obstacles. So what I've been using now for almost 5 years is something called the 12-week year. I want to break that down for you, how I'm going to be using it a little bit different this year, and obviously the origins of where it came about. I really feel it's the absolute best way to be able to achieve your goals in a systematic manner, meaning like, you don't need to let everything overwhelm you, and you also don't need to accomplish everything at once. A lot of times, we're too much pressure is put on us to accomplish our goal in the next week or even the next month. I want to let you know is that you have time. You do, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to get started. So you do have to get started, but you do also have time. Now, the sooner you get started, the sooner you reach those goals, because everything just takes some time to achieve. So remember, the bigger your goal, all that means is that it might take a little bit longer to achieve just because you need to become more in order to have that goal. But really, you need to break it down into smaller pieces because you can't accomplish a big goal. You just can't. But you can accomplish the smaller pieces, which then allow you to what? Well, reach that bigger goal. That's how we look at it in integrative health, right? So people come in with these big health issues, right? These big health issues. But our job is to really say, listen, when you're looking at all of these big disease states, yeah, they're too much to even think about, too much to deal with. But really, what are we dealing with? Well, we're not dealing with the disease. We're dealing with the underlying root cause imbalances that led you to this disease state in the first place. So in natural health and integrative health, what do? Well, we're going to look at all your deficiencies, right? We'll look at vitamin deficiencies, omega-3 deficiencies, mineral deficiencies, amino acid deficiencies. Like, we'll just look at all your different deficiencies. And whatever those are, okay, well, then we'll replace those. And then in terms of your toxicities, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to look for gut toxicities, H. pylori, parasites. We're going to look for yeast overgrowth. We're going to look for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Okay, so we're going to look for all of those. What else for toxicities? Well, heavy metals. What else for toxicities? Well, pathogens, things that are affecting your immune system. So we're just going to go down the line. And you can see like, well, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. Conventional medicine doesn't do that because, one, they don't have the time. Two, their expertise is in pharmacology, right? So their expertise is in masking those symptoms. And listen, I get it. It works and it doesn't help the person in the long run, but certainly symptomatically it works in the short term. So, but natural health is different. And that's also how I want you to think of your goals is like, if you really want to achieve sustainable results, meaning like if you don't want to just achieve your goal and then have it, you lose your goal in another month afterwards, you want to do it from a systematic approach, from an underlying first principles based approach. So I look at it like this. A lot of people can lose weight. There's a lot of people doing keto right now and they lose like 20 pounds in a month or two. There's no doubt about it. I don't disagree whatsoever. But the problem is they just gain it all back, right? And usually it slows their thyroid as well. Typically, I only see that in women for the most part, but I'm starting to now see it in men in their late 30s, 40s, who are more susceptible to low thyroid issues. Remember, 1 in like 10 to 12 guys are susceptible to low thyroid issues. So again, that can really affect them where 1 in 5 to 8 women are more susceptible to low thyroid. So what I would say is you just have to be careful with what you're doing in terms of your approach. So I'm not going to give you the exact approach today that you should be using towards your goal, but I am going to tell you how to achieve that goal and then you'll be able to decide on the proper process, and whether it's a coach, a book, a formula, an online course, like whatever it is, whatever works for you, fantastic. But I want to tell you how to break those things down to use them in a better way. So I've been doing this now, honestly, for a long time, meaning like in terms of trying to achieve my own goals. I've always been someone that's seen a goal and wanted to achieve it, want to go after it. I mean, I remember back when I was like 10 years old, I didn't have a way to make money. Like it just wasn't something that we weren't given an allowance. It just wasn't something that we were doing when we were younger. And it's not like I couldn't maybe ask my parents for something, but sometimes I felt bad. And sometimes I didn't want to have to ask. I wanted to be able to do it on my own. So I remember being like 10 years old, there's a specific bike that I wanted. And I said to myself, okay, well, how much money do you need? And I have no idea how much it was back then, but let's just say it was like $80. I mean, like I have no idea, right? But let's say it was $80. And so, I'm a 10-year-old kid. How am I going to earn $80? Well, I knew that other kids had paper routes. And so what I did was I got a paper route. And so I said, okay, I don't have a bike, like a bike that I want, but I can use my old bike. And as I'm doing that and delivering papers, after a certain amount of time, I'll be able to save the money and I'll be able to buy that bike. And so that was like really excited. So I was excited for that. But then all I did was, and again, I don't think I was a math wizard, but at 10 years old, I'm saying, okay, let's say I make $10 a week. How many weeks do I need to do this in order to buy that $80 bike and whatever else came with it? Well, I had to work somewhere around 8 weeks or 10 weeks to get all the other stuff. So again, I just looked at it as I said, okay, if I do this for the next 2 to 3 months, I can buy that bike. And I just thought that was amazing. Like, I thought it was just so great that you could say, hey, you want this. This is what you need to do in order to get that. And so I've really looked at life in that way, and just saying, I've always believed that everything is achievable. I really believe that. Just because in natural health too, I've seen the worst of the worst people get well. And I've seen the people with the hardest weight loss issues who have struggled their whole life finally lose the weight. And you again, like this isn't, we don't even ask people for success stories, but you could just go to something like the CabralSupportGroup.com, totally free support group, 10,000 people in it from all over the world. We don't ask people to join. We don't advertise it, like nothing like that. And you'll just see success stories all over the board, just from people following certain protocols that we do, that we've just proven over and over and over to work. So I've just seen the worst of the worst get better. I was the worst of the worst, and I got better. So I just know that it's possible for people, but you need to do it in a systematic manner. And so that's what I try to teach people. So if you've been listening the last couple of weeks, and if you haven't, I highly recommend going back. So I'm going to go over right now just a quick summary, but if you don't really get it, I would love you to go back. All you have to do is go to StephenCabral.com/podcasts and just click on the right-hand column there. It will actually change all of the podcasts you see to Mindset and Motivation Mondays if you just want to look at that particular topic. So a few weeks ago, I really talked with you about starting with the end in mind. Like I wanted that bike, right? I knew that bike was something that I wanted. I knew like friends of mine had this bike. I thought it was amazing. It had like pegs on the back. It had, a special kickstand. It had like these rubber grips. I can still remember it to this day. It was like this baby blue bike with these white mags and the pegs on it. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And again, 10 years old, riding a bike is pretty much the best thing ever. So I envisioned that, and I didn't know I was doing that at the time. And I said, well, I don't want to ask my parents. That's a big expensive gift. And so here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a way to make that money. And the best thing that I knew for a 10-year-old to do was start a paper route. I didn't really want to deliver papers. Like that wasn't an exciting thing for me, but that's part of the formula. And the formula I gave you just a couple weeks ago is start with the end in mind. Okay. So I wanted that bike. Some people want to lose weight. Some people want to get well, right? I had an end goal when I was sick is like, I wanted to get well. And then I had to say, okay, well, so you answer the questions. What do you want, right? What do you want? I'm not going to go through this. I'll give you the link though. So if you go to StephenCabral.com/podcast, you'll find all the previous podcasts. For the one that I was talking about, just go to StephenCabral.com/1781. It was just last Monday. That would be a good one to look at for sure. So you're basically deciding, what do you want, right? And then why do you want it? You have to have a why. Like that, it has to be strong, right? Probably my want for that bike wasn't that strong, but at 10 years old, like that was a big want, right? But my why do I want it when I was sick? Well, I needed it. I didn't have the life that I wanted. I didn't have the energy. I didn't have the vitality. I was struggling all the time. I was just talking with my wife actually the other day, we were in our early 20s, and what do you do in your early 20s? Well, we would just walk around the mall. We would go to the movies. We would just do things like that. And I remember, the reason why I say that, we would sometimes go to New York City. We would do that because we lived in Providence, Rhode Island for a while, and it was only 2.5 hours to go to New York City. So that was a lot of fun. So we would drive, I remember, to Connecticut, Stratford, Connecticut, I believe, somewhere around there, and then take the train in 45 minutes, and we would stay over maybe for a night. Like it was just really, really nice. But I remember how tired I was just from walking around. I remember if we would go into a store and we'd be shopping around, and let's say my wife was looking at certain things. We're not big shoppers, but we were just doing that, right? Just kind of walking around. And she was looking at things. I would sit down. I remember how I would just always call it gassed. I would remember how gassed my body was. I would just always say that. That's a term that we used to use. Is just you were just so fatigued. But really what it means is that your body's just so built up with carbon dioxide and lactic acid. Like your body is just fatigued. And that was for me just walking. That was really it. That was my life for a decade. I mean, that was really my life for a decade, and that was no way to live. So I had my why. I can't live like this. I can't live like this. And then the next question is, well, how will you get what you want? So that's for you to decide. You want a better career? What will it take? I mean, that's it. What will it take for you to get there? Okay. How will you get the promotion? How will you create your own business? Do you need more education? Do you need a certification? Like, what is it? Okay. Same with relationships. What will it take to get the relationship you want? You have to understand the question, and then you have to be able to answer it. And the answers are out there. The answers are out there for everything, right? For health, for body transformation, for spirituality. The answers are out there. There's no shortage of answers. The thing is, I just don't want you to go shallow. Go deep on it, because when you go deep and you truly understand, and you can learn along the way. There's no doubt about that. Learn along the way, okay? But you have to follow a proven formula. Do not fall for someone's plan. And I'm not coming down on anybody in their early 20s giving you a plan, but it's just like you just haven't lived enough life to be able to just give this plan. I know that, for one is like I was a personal trainer and nutritionist in my late teens and early 20s, and I did help people. So I'm not saying don't go to someone in their early 20s as a personal trainer, those types of things. But what I'm saying is like for overall like big life purpose, like it's just difficult to go to a relationship specialist if they're 22 years old. It's really difficult. I don't think there's any doctors at 22, but you just haven't seen enough people, right? So just get the experience. It's all that I want you to do, right? I want you to find someone who has the experience or knowledge to get you the goals, to your goal. That's basically it. So how will you get it? And then what will it cost? And this does not mean money. And again, I shared this with you before, but it's not about money, okay? So what it is, though, is are you willing to pay the price? That's the question mark, because the price is often in time and reprioritizing, right? It's reprioritizing. So you want to lose the weight. You should exercise. You should move your body. Can we help people lose weight without exercising? Yes, we do it with our detox. We do it with our Fatlocity program. There's no doubt about that. Do those work better, though, with exercise? The answer is yes. Do you get more sustainable results if you exercise? The answer is yes. Are you more likely to live longer and healthier if you exercise? The answer is yes. Do you need to be crushing your body, though, 5 to 7 days a week with exercise? The answer is no. No, but you need to be moving your body. So it's kind of like, what will it cost? Well, now you need to carve out a half hour a day. And the answer is always like, well, I don't have an extra half hour of the day. Nobody does, right? So you need to take a half hour away from something else. That's it, right? If your goal is important to you, you need to make the trade. And it might not have to be forever, okay? But you need to make the trade. That's just the way that it is. So it has to be a high enough priority for you. Now, if you've gotten to this point, and again, definitely go back, check out last week's Motivation and Mindset Monday. What you need to do now, though, is use this 12-week formula. So again, I've been using this formula, well, for a long time, right? If I was 10 years old using it, I didn't understand it fully, but I've been doing it for a long time. And then all of a sudden I read this book, and I love giving credit where credit's due. And I read this book. Brian Moran, I believe, is the name of the author, and it's called The 12-Week Year, and I'll link it up today in the show notes, and of course, I'll talk about it, and I'll talk about all my favorite New Year's books this Friday. So this Friday coming up, check out the Friday review. That will be episode 1792. Today is episode 1788. So what the book, The 12-Week Year, basically said this. Okay, you take a big goal. Okay, you take maybe 1 or 2 goals for the year. Remember, you can have more goals, but the truth is that you can't accomplish a million goals all at once because your mind is scattered, right? And you only have so many things that you can prioritize. So choose 1 or 2 big goals, okay? So for example, look at my big 5 that I talk about: relationships, spirituality, body transformation. That means basically your weight, the shape that you're in, because remember, it affects your overall health, energy, and mood. And then your health overall, right? So if there's health issues, take care of those. And then there's career or purpose. Like that's basically it. So it's like, do what you love, right? Do more of what you love. So what I want to share with you, and one little caveat there is we work with a lot of people now, and they're almost looking at like the second half of their life. It's like, okay, I did what I had to the first half. I want to do more of what I love the second half. So they're kind of picking up a hobby, a part-time career, doing more of what they love. And I think that's an amazing thing as well. Okay, so we're going to choose 1 or 2 of those. That's it. So that's how I look at it, like 1 or 2 of those. And you then want to hone in on that. So for example, again, let me just go back to this because it's just the simplest example. You want to lose 50 pounds this year. Fantastic. Like you want to lose 50 pounds. Well, good. What are we going to do? Are we going to lose that 50 pounds the next month? The answer is no, nor should you, right? So that's just not healthy or sustainable. But what if you could lose 20 pounds right out of the gates in the first month? You can do that. For sure, you can do that with a good functional medicine detox, with the fat velocity protocol. Like any one of those things will help you there. But then we need to keep that going. So let's look at this a little bit more realistic. 50 pounds for the year. Okay, I know you can do it in less. You can do it in probably 6 months. But what I want you to do is break that down in what's called the 12-week year. So all we're going to do is take this big goal. We're going to say 50 pounds. Like no matter what, just say by the end of this year, I want to be 50 pounds later because that's going to change my life. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to have less brain fog, less joint pain. Remember, if you're not holding on to 50 pounds all day long, your knees are most likely going to hurt less. Same with your ankles, same with your lower back, same for your shoulders. They're not going to be a slouch forward. You're going to sleep better. You're going to have more energy. If you had sleep apnea, you might be able to get rid of it by losing the weight. Like there's just so many things. If you have compounding health issues like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, what you do in order to lose that 50 pounds might help you get well, right? Like it might help you. So let's just say 50 pounds for the year. If we look at the math on that, we're going to say, well, what is that? That's 4 pounds a month, right? So it's a pound a week. That is nothing. You can absolutely achieve that. Here's the great thing. Some weeks you'll lose 2 pounds. Some weeks you might only lose no weight at all, but it will eventually even out to 1 pound. So give yourself the year because listen, you might have had the weight on for years now. You want to lose it faster. I get it. But now we need to chunk that down. So if we're using the 12-week year, here's what we'll say. We might lose the weight faster, but let's not get down on ourselves. So what can we do in 12 weeks? Well, in 12 weeks, we could lose 12 pounds. And you might say, well, that's not that great. Listen, I get it, but trust me, the first 12 weeks, you're going to lose more. But if you just follow the formula, you will lose all 50 pounds by next year, right? By the end of this year in 12 calendar months. That's the great thing about it. So you're living what's called 4 years. You have 12 weeks. You have 12 weeks. That's a half a year, another 12 and another 12. We have 4 quarters. And all we're going to focus on are the next 90 days or the next 12 weeks in front of us. What can we do in the next 12 weeks? Forget about the big goal. What can we do right now? Here's what we're going to do right now. We're going to lose 12 pounds. So we're going to lose 1 pound a week. What are we going to do to lose 1 pound a week? Well, you choose the modality. That's for you, but we're going to mark it down on the calendar because now we're going to chunk it down a little further. We have a bigger goal, 12. We have 50 pounds for the year, and we have 12 pounds now in 1 quarter, in 12 weeks. Okay, that means each month, how much weight do we need to lose? Well, about 4 pounds, right? We need to lose 4 pounds a month. Okay, so that's our 1 month goal. Now, what's our 1 week goal? Well, our 1 week goal is now 1 pound. So we know that we can do that. Sure, you can weigh yourself every day. If you follow my formula, you're only going to weigh yourself on Mondays and Fridays. So you can go back, you can tune in the previous show for why. But here's the thing. If you lose 1 pound a week, what takes care of itself? The 50 pounds, right? The 50 pounds is an enormous goal, right? It's an enormous goal. You say, it's so much weight to lose. I haven't lost the weight for years. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Don't worry about how you're going to do it. Don't worry about how you're going to do it. You're going to lose 1 pound a week. That's it. That's what you're going to do. So you're going to start to then just make small changes, or right out of the gate, you're going to do something like the protocols that we've talked about before, okay? So that's what you're going to do. And maybe even for the first 12 weeks, you only do something like our functional medicine detox, the fat velocity protocol, or whatever, you work with your personal trainer, or whatever it is. But maybe then the next 12 weeks, okay, that's when you start to add in exercise. That's when you start to add in cardio. That's when you begin to remove whatever from your diet. So you will be able to do it if you take that big goal and chunk it down. The same for doing a certification. A lot of people right now, we have a lot of people coming in integrative health practitioner, right? The Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. So what do? Well, you could look at it and just say, well, I'm going to 6 months, it'll take me to pass level 1 and level 2. And that's if I buckle up, and really get into it. Okay, sure. It is, right? 6 months. But what are you going to learn in that 6 months? What are you going to learn? The entire de-stress protocol, the diet, the exercise, the stress reduction, the toxin removal, the rest, the exercise, the supplement protocols, the success mindset. And then in level 2, you're going to learn about all the different labs. You're going to learn about the adrenal hormone labs and the thyroid. You're going to learn about omega-3s and omega-6s. You're going to learn about parasites and bacteria and yeast and gut function and all these food sensitivities, these great labs. So here's the thing though, what do you need to do? Well, you really only need to do a half hour a day of watching the videos. So looking at both certifications, you say, oh, that's so much. There's just so much to do. You can look at it that way, or you can look at it at 30 minutes a day. And then you could even break down that 30 minutes a day if you wanted to what? 10 minutes upon waking, 10 minutes at lunch, 10 minutes before bed. That's my formula as well for reading a book a month. That's all that you need to do, right? If you do 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and 10 minutes throughout the day, you'll read a book a month. And that's pretty fantastic for most people. Most people haven't. When's the last time you've read 12 books, right? Long time. Well, you're going to read 12 books in a year. And if you do that on one particular topic, you will be an expert compared to 99% of the people out there. So I'm going to share, now I will share previous podcasts that I've done on this 12-week year, but I want you to know this, that everything that you want in your life is attainable. I honestly believe that. But the problem is we get held back because of what we believe is a lack of time. We believe that our goals are just too big. They become overwhelming to us. Now, if you step back, you take a deep breath, and you begin to see the bigger picture. You can have everything you want. You just probably can't have it tomorrow. So we take the big goal and we chunk it down to 12-week time frames. What can we do in the first 12 weeks? That's all that we need to focus on. And then we'll take that 12 weeks, we'll break it down to monthly goals, and then weekly goals, and then daily goals. If you take care of the days, they take care of the weeks. If you take care of the weeks, it takes care of the months. You take care of the months, the quarter, the 12 weeks is now done. You follow your 12 weeks 4 times for the year, you've accomplished your big goals. And if there's smaller goals that could be accomplished in 12 weeks, well, now you could accomplish 4 big goals in 1 year. I think that's pretty fantastic. I really believe that. So I'm going to leave you a bunch of links today at stevencabral.com/1788. And then on this Friday's show coming up, I'll give you all of my favorite books to start the new year. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have an amazing day. And as always, if this was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.